Have you ever noticed the strange, quiet cruelty of the human heart? The way it can long for the very thing that broke it? What if the person who caused you the deepest pain is the same person your mind begs for when you want to feel safe? If you have ever felt stuck in this agonizing contradiction, you are not alone. You are standing in the aftermath of a storm. Someone you loved, someone you trusted, hurt you deeply. The logical part of your mind knows the truth. It knows you deserve better. It knows they cannot give you the peace you are looking for. Yet, when the room is quiet and the night is long, you find yourself missing them. And then comes the confusion, the heavy, sinking guilt. Why do I still love someone who treated me poorly? Why do I crave the presence of the one who pushed me away? This is a heavy burden to carry. It makes you question your own strength. It makes you feel weak, as if you have no control over your own emotions. You feel angry at yourself for still caring. Buddhist wisdom teaches us that suffering often arises not just from the pain itself, but from our confusion about what the pain means. We attach our feelings to the wrong source. In Buddhist thought, the mind is a master of creation. It weaves stories. It builds attachments. And when we lose someone, the mind does not just grieve the physical person, it grieves the feelings that person temporarily provided. Imagine a bird that has lived its entire life inside a cage. The cage is small, it is restrictive. Sometimes, the sharp wires of the cage cut into the bird's wings. But the cage is also deeply familiar. One day, the door is opened. The bird flies out into the vast, open sky. It is finally free. But when the wind blows cold and the night grows dark, the bird looks back at the cage and longs for it. Not because the cage was good, but because the cage was known. It was shelter. This is what your mind is doing right now. When you are feeling lonely, tired, or afraid of an uncertain future, you look back. You look at the person who hurt you, the relationship that drained you, and you mistake the familiarity of that cage for the warmth of a true home. You miss the shared routines. You miss the text messages. You miss the illusion that you were safe in the world. You are not missing the pain they caused you. You are missing the comfort of having somewhere to land. Ask yourself, think about your own life. Are you truly missing them? Or are you missing the feeling of being chosen? Are you longing for the specific person who broke your heart? Or are you longing for the safety you desperately believed they represented? Pause, breathe, observe this longing without judging yourself for it. Let the feeling of missing them rise, but do not follow it into guilt or shame. You are not weak for wanting comfort. You are simply human. You have a heart that was built to seek warmth. Acknowledge the ache. Let it sit in the room with you, but do not let it convince you to return to the cage, because peace is not found by going back to what broke you. The comfort you are craving was never truly in them. It was something your own beautiful mind projected onto them. But untangling the person from the feeling of safety is not easy. We are drawn to what we know, even when what we know hurts. And this is where the next truth begins. 2. The illusion of comfort in the familiar. Here is the truth few people want to face. The familiar feels like safety, even when the familiar is destroying you. When you are separated from someone who hurt you, your mind goes to war with itself. You know they brought you pain. You remember the arguments, the coldness, the feeling of never being quite enough. Yet, you find yourself wanting to reach out. You find yourself checking to see what they are doing, or pulling up old photos just to look at their face. Why? Because the absolute absence of them feels like a vast, terrifying void. And human beings will choose a familiar pain over an unfamiliar emptiness almost every single time. We seek the predictability of the person who broke us because we knew exactly how they would break us. The uncertainty of a new life, the vastness of being truly alone, feels far more dangerous than the known ache of holding on. Buddhist wisdom teaches us about a specific kind of suffering born from misunderstanding. We suffer because we confuse what is familiar with what is secure. In Buddhist thought, this is an illusion of the mind. We cling to things that are impermanent, flawed, or even harmful simply because we recognize them. We are afraid of the open space of the unknown, so we furnish our minds with the heavy, broken pieces of our past. Imagine a traveler walking through a dark, thorny forest. They have walked this same path for years. The branches are sharp, their skin is cut, their feet are tired, and the dense leaves block out the sun. But they know this path. They know exactly where to step to avoid the deepest mud. One day, they reach the edge of the forest and see a wide, sunlit, open field. But instead of walking into the warmth and the light, the traveler stops. They look at the open grass, feel the unfamiliar wind, and they panic. They turn around and walk right back into the thorns. The forest, though painful, is known. The field, though beautiful, is terrifyingly empty. This is what happens when you keep the ghost of the one who hurt you alive in your mind. You are choosing the thorns. You replay the old conversations. You try to analyze why they did what they did, or you daydream about a version of them that never truly existed. You keep them present in your thoughts because the quietness of your own company feels too overwhelming. You are terrified of the open field. Think about that. Ask yourself, are you holding on to their memory because they were truly good for your spirit? Or are you holding on because you are afraid of the empty space they left behind? What are you afraid will happen if you finally let that space remain empty? Pause, breathe. Do not rush to fill the quiet. Let the silence just be silence. When the urge to look back arises, notice it. Observe the panic of the traveler standing at the edge of the field, but do not turn back into the forest. Let the feeling of fear rise without making it your identity. You do not need to fill your empty hands with a painful memory just to feel grounded. You can simply let your hands be open. Because true safety is never found by clinging to the things that hurt us. It is found when we finally stop walking the same painful path. But stepping into that open field requires us to break a very deep habit of the heart. We have to look at the person who left us and carefully untangle who they actually were from the shelter we wanted them to be. 3. Separating the person from the feeling of safety. What if the person you are grieving is not the person who actually existed, but rather the feeling you had when you were with them? This is one of the hardest things to untangle when you still love someone who hurt you. You look back and you feel an overwhelming sense of loss. You miss the simple routines. You miss having someone to talk to, and of a long day. You miss the quiet moments when the world felt okay, simply because someone was sitting beside you. The mind takes these moments of comfort and glues them to the person. You begin to believe that they are the comfort. You tell yourself that without them, you will never feel safe again. Even though they caused your pain, you have convinced yourself they are the only cure for it. Buddhist wisdom teaches us to look deeply at the true nature of our attachments. Often, we are not attached to the reality of a person, but to the projection of our own desires. In Buddhist thought, suffering arises when we overlay our internal need for peace onto an imperfect, external source. We take our deep, beautiful human longing for connection, for safety, for a home, and we place it onto someone else's shoulders. We mistakenly merge the concept of safety with the physical presence of the person. Imagine you are standing outside on a freezing, bitter night. Someone hands you a heavy blanket. You wrap it around your shoulders, and finally, you feel warm. You feel secure. But as time goes on, you realize the blanket is lined with hidden thorns. Every time you move, it cuts into your skin. You are hurting. You are in pain. Yet, when someone tells you to take the blanket off, you refuse. You hold it even tighter. You cry out, "But I will freeze without it." You are confusing the blanket with the warmth. You forget that the blanket itself has no heat. The warmth you feel is actually your own body heat, simply trapped and reflected back to you by the fabric. We do this in our relationships. You hold on to a person who ignores you, diminishes your worth, or hurts your heart because they occasionally gave you a moment of calm. You mistake those rare, quiet moments for true safety. You think they are the source of your peace, so you tolerate the thorns to keep the warmth. But the capacity to feel safe, to love deeply, to feel whole, that did not come from them. It came from you. They just temporarily reflected it back to you. Think about your own life. Think about the person you are missing. Ask yourself, were they truly a safe harbor, or did you just work incredibly hard to build a temporary shelter out of their inconsistency? Are you missing who they actually were? Or are you missing the moments when you finally allowed your own heart to relax? Pause. Breathe. Look closely at the memory. Separate their actual actions from the comfort you wished they provided. Stop giving them credit for the peace you created within yourself. You do not have to chase what is already leaving. You can take off the blanket and still survive the cold, because the warmth was yours all along. But to truly let this illusion go, we must understand how our own memory betrays us when we are hurting. We must see how desperately the mind tries to rewrite history, and this is where the next truth begins. 4. The mind's habit of editing the past. What if your own memory is the very thing keeping you trapped in your pain? Here is a difficult truth. When your heart is broken, your mind becomes an unreliable narrator. When you are separated from someone who hurt you, you rarely remember the whole story. You forget the nights you spent crying into your pillow. You forget the deep, hollow anxiety of waiting for them to finally choose you. You forget the disrespect, the coldness, and the heavy, exhausting feeling of walking on eggshells just to keep the peace. Instead, your mind carefully cuts away the pain and splices together a highlight reel of the good times. You remember the way they laughed. You remember a single perfect afternoon. You stare at old photographs where everyone is smiling, and you convince yourself that the relationship was a sanctuary. You replay these few beautiful moments so loudly that they drown out the reality of your suffering. Buddhist wisdom teaches us about the danger of clinging to illusions. In Buddhist thought, the human mind naturally craves pleasure and recoils from pain. When we lose a relationship, the mind tries to protect us from the harsh finality of loss by filtering our perception. It paints the past in vibrant colors that never truly existed. Buddhism reminds us that much of our prolonged suffering comes from refusing to see things as they are. We suffer because we are fiercely holding on to a mirage, an altered, perfected version of the past that we have created in our own heads. Imagine a traveler wandering alone in a harsh, endless desert. The sun is beating down, and they are desperately thirsty. In the distance, through the waving heat, they see a shimmering lake of cool, clear water. Filled with hope, they run toward it, exhausting the last of their strength, pushing through the burning sand. But when they arrive, there is no water. There is only dry dust and empty earth. The lake was a mirage, a trick of the light, the environment, and their own desperate need to be saved. This is what you do when you miss the person who broke your heart. You are walking through the uncomfortable desert of your current loneliness, and your mind projects a mirage of the past. You remember a fleeting moment of kindness, and you convince yourself it was a deep, abiding love. You run toward the memory of their affection, entirely forgetting the emotional starvation that always followed it. You are thirsty for comfort, and so your mind tricks you into believing that the desert was actually an oasis. Think about your own life. Think about the late nights when you lie awake, replaying old conversations. Ask yourself, when you miss them, are you telling yourself the complete truth? Or are you carefully editing out the pain just to justify your longing? Is this polished memory bringing you true peace, or is it merely feeding your fear of moving forward? Pause. Breathe. The next time your mind offers you a perfect, beautiful memory of them, do not fight it, but gently ask your mind to show you the whole picture. Place the reality of how they made you feel right next to the fantasy. Observe the thought without following it into the mirage. Let the feeling rise, but do not let it rewrite your history. You do not have to deny that there were good times, but you must stop allowing those good times to erase the truth of why it had to end. Because true peace requires us to see things exactly as they were, not as we desperately wished they would be. But even when we finally accept the truth, a lingering shadow often remains in the quiet moments. And this is where the next truth begins. 5. The Buddhist wisdom of observing the ghost. What if you do not have to banish the memory of them to finally be free? Here is a truth that goes against everything we are taught about moving on. You do not have to fight the lingering shadow. When you separate from someone you loved, even if they hurt you, your daily life becomes a minefield of memories. You wake up in the morning, and for a split second, everything is normal. Then the reality crashes in. You reach for your phone to share something funny, only to remember they are no longer there. You walk past the place you used to eat together, and a heavy sorrow settles in your chest. They are physically gone, but their ghost haunts your routine. You feel angry at yourself for this. You think, I should be over this by now. You try to forcefully push the thoughts away, but the harder you try to stop thinking about them, the louder and more persistent their memory becomes. Buddhist wisdom teaches us the profound practice of simply observing. In Buddhist thought, a thought or a memory is not a permanent reality. It is merely a passing event in the mind. The deep struggle comes when we try to fight the natural arising of a memory, or when we desperately cling to it. Buddhism reminds us that we are not the thoughts that pass through us. We are the quiet awareness watching them pass. When the ghost of the past appears, you do not have to attack it, and you do not have to invite it to sit down. You can just let it be. Imagine a quiet lake reflecting the sky. Suddenly, a dark, heavy cloud drifts overhead. The reflection of the cloud appears on the surface of the water. If the lake tried to fight the reflection, it would only agitate the water, creating turbulent waves and distorting everything. But the lake does nothing. It simply remains still. It allows the reflection of the cloud to rest on its surface, knowing that the wind is already moving it along. Soon, the cloud passes, and the water reflects the clear, open sky once more. This is how we must treat the memory of the one who hurt us. When you are standing in the grocery store, and you suddenly remember what they used to buy, the cloud is passing over the water. When you hear a song and your heart physically aches for a moment, the cloud is passing over the water. This lingering pain is not a sign that you are failing to heal. It is simply the emotional habit of your mind, playing out its familiar routine. You do not need to analyze why the memory arose. You do not need to panic. Think about that. Ask yourself, are you agitating the water by fighting every memory that surfaces? Are you turning a passing thought into a full day of suffering because you are angry that the ghost is still there? Pause. Breathe. The next time the memory visits, let it in. Say to yourself gently, there is the habit of missing them. Observe the thought without following it. Let the feeling rise without making it your identity. Let the ghost walk through the room of your mind and out the other door without trying to stop it or speak to it. The memory will slowly lose its power when you stop giving it your resistance. Because peace is not the absence of memories. It is the refusal to let them control the present. But observing the ghost can be incredibly difficult when the ache feels unbearable. Sometimes, in the middle of that pain, we become desperate for relief. And this is where the next truth begins. 6. Why we crave the poison to cure the pain. Have you ever noticed the strange, tragic logic of a broken heart? What if the very hands you are begging to heal you are the exact hands that tore you apart? When someone you love hurts you deeply, the immediate, overwhelming instinct is to seek comfort from them. You want them to apologize. You want them to hold you and fix what they just broke. You feel a desperate need for closure, for an explanation, for one last conversation that will somehow make everything right. So, you send the text, you make the call, you lower your boundaries, hoping that if you just show them how much you are hurting, they will finally give you the peace you deserve. We want the person who caused our anxiety to be the one to take it away. Buddhist wisdom teaches us about a specific kind of suffering born from our fundamental misunderstanding of reality. In Buddhist thought, we often look for the end of our suffering in the very things that cause it. We are driven by a deep craving for relief, but our vision is clouded. Buddhism reminds us that seeking lasting peace in a source that is inherently unstable is like trying to quench a deep thirst by drinking salt water. The more you drink, the more desperate and dehydrated you become. Imagine a person walking barefoot through a dense forest. Suddenly, they step on a sharp, poisoned thorn. The pain is intense, burning through their body. But instead of sitting down, carefully pulling the thorn out and cleaning the wound, they panic. They believe the only way to stop the pain is to go back to the exact thorny bush that hurt them and ask it for a cure. They keep rubbing their bleeding foot against the sharp branches, crying out, hoping the bush will magically soothe the wound it just created. They are begging the poison to be the medicine. This is what you do when you repeatedly seek comfort, validation, or closure from the person who disrespects you, ignores you, or abandons you. You are going back to the thorny bush. You tell yourself, if they just explain why they did it, I will feel better. Or, if we can just talk one last time, the pain will stop. But every time you reach out, you are cut by the same sharp branches. You are reinfected by their coldness, their inconsistency, or their inability to love you the way you need to be loved. The comfort they offer is temporary, but the damage is lasting. Think about your own life. Think about the times you broke your own heart, trying to get them to fix it. Ask yourself, are you waiting for the person who broke you to put you back together? Are you desperately drinking salt water and wondering why you are still dying of thirst? Is this desire to reach out bringing you peace, or is it feeding your fear? Pause, breathe. Stop trying to force a locked door open. Observe the intense urge to contact them, but do not follow it. Let the feeling of desperation rise without letting it control your hands. You do not need their apology to heal. You do not need their closure to move forward. You must carefully pull the thorn out yourself, because true healing never comes from returning to the source of your destruction. It comes from your own quiet, steady resilience. But to finally walk away from the poison, we must look deeply at the tears we are shedding, because often we are not just mourning what happened in the past. And this is where the next truth begins. 7. The grief of losing the future, not just the past. What if the heaviest tears you cry are not for the memories you shared, but for the memories you will never get to make? Here is a truth that is incredibly painful to accept. When you are separated from someone you loved, especially someone who hurt you, you are not merely mourning the history of the relationship, you are mourning the plans. You are grieving the hypothetical future. You are missing the vacations you talked about, the home you imagined, and the quiet moments of peace you were absolutely certain were waiting for you just around the corner. When you stay with someone who causes you pain, you often survive the present by clinging to the hope of a better tomorrow. You tell yourself that one day they will change. One day they will finally see your worth. So when they are gone, the loss feels unbearable. You lose what you had, but you also lose everything you thought you were going to have. Buddhist wisdom teaches us about the profound suffering that comes from attaching ourselves to things that do not exist. In Buddhist thought, the future is an illusion. It is a mere projection of the mind, a dream spun from our deepest desires and our desperate need for security. We attach ourselves so fiercely to these projected outcomes that we forget they are not real. Buddhism reminds us that impermanence applies not just to the physical things in our lives, but to our expectations as well. When we grieve a future that was never guaranteed, we are suffering over a ghost that was never even born. Imagine a master architect who spends years drawing the blueprints for a magnificent house. They spend every waking hour sketching the walls, choosing the colors, and imagining how the morning sunlight will pour through the large glass windows. They can practically feel the warmth of the floors, but they are trying to build this house on a foundation of shifting, unstable sand. One day, a fierce storm rolls in and washes the entire lot away. The architect falls to their knees and weeps bitterly for the lost house. But the house never existed. There were no walls. There was no glass. The architect is weeping over a piece of paper. They are mourning a drawing. This is what your mind is doing when you grieve the future you thought you would have with the person who broke you. You are crying over blueprints. You fell in love with their potential, not their reality. You attached your heart to the version of them you hoped they would become. While entirely ignoring the person they actually were, you grieve the apology you never received, the change in behavior that never arrived, and the lasting peace that was nothing more than a sketch in your mind. Think about that. Ask yourself, are you mourning the actual person who repeatedly let you down? Or are you mourning the fantasy of who they could have been if they had just treated you right? What are you still holding on to, the reality of the past or the illusion of the future? Pause. Breathe. Look at the blueprint in your mind and gently let it blow away in the wind. Stop grieving the house that was never built. Let the feeling of loss rise, but recognize that you are losing a dream, not a reality. You do not have to carry the weight of what never was, because peace is not found by forcefully building a future on shifting sand. It is found by accepting the ground exactly as it is today. But letting go of that beautiful fantasy leaves a terrifying empty space. We must learn how to fill that space, not with another person, but with ourselves. And this is where the next truth begins. 8. Building a sanctuary within yourself. What if the emptiness they left behind is not a void but a clearing? Here is the truth about the empty space you feel right now. It is terrifying because you have spent a long time believing that your home is found inside another person. We are conditioned to seek safety in the arms, words, and promises of someone else. When the person who hurt you finally leaves, they take that false sense of home with them. You are left standing in what feels like a barren wasteland, exposed to the cold, feeling completely displaced. You look at the empty space and panic. You want to fill it immediately, even if it means dragging the person who broke you right back into the center of your life. Buddhist wisdom teaches us about the profound necessity of taking refuge within ourselves. In Buddhist thought, the root of much of our despair is the belief that permanent security can be found in the impermanent, ever-changing external world. We hand our peace over to people who are struggling with their own minds, and then we are devastated when they drop it. Buddhism reminds us that true sanctuary cannot be built on the shifting ground of another person's feelings. The only permanent home you will ever have is the quiet, steady center of your own awareness. Imagine a person who owns a beautiful, sturdy house made of thick stone. It has a warm hearth, solid walls, and a heavy door. But instead of living inside this house, they choose to stand outside in the freezing rain, frantically begging a passing stranger for a broken umbrella. They shiver, they cry, and they cling to the stranger, completely forgetting that the key to the warm stone house is sitting right in their own pocket. For a long time, you have been standing in the rain. You handed the key to your internal sanctuary to someone who did not respect the house. They tracked mud onto your floors. They left the windows open to the bitter wind, and they made you feel unsafe in your own life. And now that they are gone, you are shivering, looking down the road, begging for them to come back and hold the broken umbrella over your head. You have forgotten that you own the house. Think about your own life. Think about the exhausting energy you spend trying to convince someone else to protect your heart. Ask yourself, are you still standing in the freezing rain, waiting for the person who hurt you to bring you shelter? What if you simply reached into your own pocket, took out the key, and walked inside? Pause, breathe, stop abandoning yourself. Stop waiting for someone else to light the fire. Close your eyes and feel the quiet strength that has survived every storm you have ever faced. Let the feeling of loneliness rise, but do not let it convince you that you are homeless. You do not need to chase them to feel secure. You can simply come home to yourself, because true peace is not found by finding the perfect person to protect you. It is found by becoming the sanctuary you have always been searching for. But once you step inside that quiet room, you must make a final, lasting choice about the ghost you left out in the cold. And this is where the final truth begins. 9. The quiet freedom of letting the illusion go. What if the strange, quiet cruelty of the heart is actually its greatest teacher? You started this journey carrying a heavy, confusing burden. You felt stuck in the agonizing contradiction of still loving someone who hurt you. You wondered why your mind kept looking back, begging for the very hands that broke you. You felt weak for missing them, judging yourself for not being able to simply move on. But now, you see the truth. You were never missing the pain they caused you. You were missing the illusion of the comfort they represented. You were grieving the familiar safety of the cage, not the captor. You were clutching the heavy, thorny blanket because you forgot that the warmth was actually coming from your own body. You were begging the poison to be the medicine, wandering through a desert of your own memories, crying over blueprints of a house that was never built. Buddhist wisdom does not ask you to forcefully rip the love out of your heart. It does not ask you to pretend the past did not happen or to bury your sadness. It simply asks you to wake up from the illusion. Non-attachment is not about becoming cold, distant, or unfeeling. It is about seeing things exactly as they are. It is the profound realization that you do not need to hold on to a source of pain simply because it is familiar. Imagine you have been holding a tightly clenched fist for a very long time. Inside that fist is a single, sharp stone. You have squeezed it so tightly, for so many months or years, that your hand has become numb to the pain. You convinced yourself that holding this stone was the only thing keeping you grounded. But now, slowly, you decide to open your fingers. The stone falls to the earth. For a moment, your empty hand aches. It feels strange, exposed, and vulnerable to the wind. But soon, the blood returns. The cramp fades. And for the first time in a long time, your hand is relaxed, open, and free to touch the rest of the world. This is what happens when you finally separate the person who hurt you from the peace you desire. You open your hand. You let the ghost walk out the door. You stop standing in the freezing rain, and you step inside your own sanctuary. Think about your own life. Think about the incredible strength it takes to finally stop fighting for someone who is not fighting for you. Ask yourself, are you ready to let the stone fall? Are you ready to let the space remain empty, trusting that the open field is infinitely better than the thorny forest? Pause. Breathe. Forgive yourself for holding on for as long as you did. You held on because you wanted to feel safe, and there is absolutely no shame in that. Your longing for comfort is beautiful. It is proof that you have a deep, tender heart. But that safety must now come from you. You are the warm stone house. You are the quiet lake reflecting the sky. You no longer have to endure the storm of their inconsistency. Let the illusion fade. Let the memories pass like clouds over the water, without letting them control the current of your life. If these lessons touched your heart, share this video with someone who may need a little more peace today. You can let go now.